are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Lindsay?
Great. Welcome to the podcast today. We're talking to Angie. She is a good friend of mine here locally, and she's also the owner of Marimo Dance Studio in Franconia, New Hampshire. Her philosophy is to just have fun with movement, and I love that so much. She's also been a huge support in my business here in town, and we hosted a great event back in May together for moms in the area to get a night out and focus on self-care and wellness, and it turned out amazing. So I'm hoping we can do some more events in the future. But Angie's here to tell us a little bit about what she does, her dance studio, her philosophy, and um, I think that it has a lot of, um, I don't know, relevance, I guess, for our chronic pain and chronic illness community because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what exercise and wellness and movement needs to be. Um, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anything specific. And Angie really drives that home with her dance programs and other programs that she has at her studio and allows people to come and be in a place of community and support and wellness and health and movement without any fear of judgment or pressure of any kind to do anything specific or outside of your abilities that day. So, Angie, tell us a little bit about Marimo and your philosophy and what you do.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited for you starting this journey. I'm honored to be a part of it. Always happy to help.
Honored to
So,
have you here.
Marimo, thank you. So, Marimo started back in 2021. It was supposed to start right around the pandemic, and then that happened. But our first class was for tiny tots and their adults. So we're focusing on having the little ones, 18 months to 4 years old, and working with their adult. It could be a parent, it could be a caretaker, and just forming that bond. So right there, you start with having, that mental health aspect as well as that physical health aspect. And you have these the two generations where that younger generation is maybe looking up to that older generation saying, oh wow, they're moving, I can do that too. And so hopefully that is instilled from a young age and it continues all the way through their 90s, because if they start then maybe they want to live through their 90s and still moving. So that's kind of where it started. It also started because I wanted to have a place that I could be free to move myself. A little bit about my background is I grew up always on the go, always moving. I had to walk 2 miles one way to school, not uphill or in the snow or barefoot. Yes, actually in the snow. But I was always moving. And then I would go to dance class, I would go to cheerleading, I would just walk everywhere. And I did that all the way through college. And of course, there were your typical injuries, knee injuries, twisted ankles, bumps on the head, different things like that, because you're growing as a child as well. So you kind of ignore all of that because you want to move and dance. And so I did all of that through college, and then it stopped. I hit real life. I became an adult, and I had to sit behind a desk and just sit there and do these monotonous movements constantly, and my body started to feel it and I didn't like it. It took a toll physically and mentally. And so I didn't want that for my children once I started having kids. And I finally opened up Marimo, and the kind of the rest is history. I wanted a place to feel comfortable. I wanted to share my love of dance. I wanted to emphasize that You don't have to look like me. You don't have to move like me. I just want you to move your body and feel good in your own skin, in your own body, in your own mind, um, and and feel welcome to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think a lot of us can relate to that too of, when we were kids and we were young and we were in college and we had all these opportunities to just move all the time, and then suddenly you're an adult and there's this expectation of going to work, and sometimes that work doesn't involve a lot of movement. And I know, for me, especially lately, I've not been as good as I should be about moving. Um, but for people who are struggling with both mental health and physical health, sometimes it can be intimidating to move, and it feels like it has to look a certain way. It feels like, oh, well, if I'm going to exercise, then I need an hour to work out. I need an hour to lift weights or go for a run or something like that. And I think what you're doing is a really, really great way to show people that it can look differently for everybody, and that's okay. And I actually took a yoga class at Marimo the other day, and I hope to take some more classes too. Um, but I really love how both Angie and other instructors that work with Angie make sure to um, give the freedom and give permission, if you will, I guess, to have things be within your comfort level. Um, Yoga can be definitely challenging for some people, and dance, I think growing up for me, dance sounded like, competition and shows, recitals, and um, so dance kind of was also intimidating. So, but you don't do that, right? You don't do the competition.
No, no, I don't like the word competition. Like I don't deal well with competition in any way. But I mean, my husband might say otherwise, but when it comes to being yourself, like there's nobody like you, and you shouldn't have to prove that, or you shouldn't have to form yourself to somebody else's standards. So we don't have competitions, while they bring a whole nother aspect of benefits. So not to say that they're bad or anything, that's not my vibe. We do have a student showcase, which is my form of a dance recital. Usually there's that stereotypical dance recital where you have to spend so much money, you have to look this way, you have to plaster your face with makeup and have these big elaborate costumes so you can be seen on the stage and everything. And that's what I grew up with. It was fun, and that's all good. Again, that has its own benefits. But I wanted my second home to be a place that was accessible to everybody, no matter what body type, no matter your income, no matter what your parents' schedule looked like. Everything, I work with my families, I work with the students to see how we can get them into a movement class. And so going back to the showcase, I have the conversations with the families to say, hey, if it's just a Marimo dance t-shirt or just a t-shirt in their favorite color, that's their costume. We can make it look really cute. And they can still do this performance because they're showing off what they can do. And that builds the confidence and empowers them to do what they like. And so we kind of just have those open communications with everybody. And if they want to take it another step, they can. I do kind of have some boundaries because I want it to be accessible to everybody.
That's great. I love that philosophy and that style of teaching so much. And I think it's important to get the word out about what you do as well, because I do think that even though like your website makes it super clear what your philosophy is, but I think people sometimes just see dance studio and automatically have a picture in their mind of what that is going to look like. And I definitely think that we need to get the word out to more and more people um, that it's different. It's not the way people are probably picturing it. Um, but you don't just do things for kiddos. You have a lot of adult classes as well, correct? What kinds of classes are you doing with the adults?
Yeah, so actually, since I started with the kids classes, it kind of took off from there because some of those adults were like, "Hey, what do you got for me?" And your sister and your mom approached me about doing a class. So it was wonderful to have it almost full circle and have those generations. So I created a class for somebody who wanted to just move their bodies. And that class is called Just Move. It's geared towards beginners, but you can bring whatever level you're going to have that day, as with all of my classes. Um, I give you the base move. If you're feeling up here, you have tons of energy and you want to jump around and just let loose, go for it. But maybe you're not feeling it, but you know how important it is and how good you feel after a class. And you just show up. Like that's part of it. And you're good. Like bring whatever level you want. And so I have beginner levels, there's also Zumba. We started doing Zumba. And outside of the dance world, oh, and line dancing, which I'll get to in a minute. Outside of the dance world, there's Pilates and eccentrics and yoga specific. I personally do a stretch class where it's just focusing on just stretching our bodies because people kind of ignore stretching, but it's so important. Like, even if you're just stretching, the first 5 seconds of getting out of bed is going to make a world of a difference, whether you realize it or not. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, it just feels so good getting into
Especially
that.
if we spend most of our lives, in singular positions like sitting. It's definitely important to stretch out those parts of our body that just sit in these contracted states all day long. Absolutely, I love that. And Pilates, super helpful for developing core stability, strength. Um, so it sounds like you have a really great variety of classes. What do you typically say to people that maybe they're asking whether or not they should come to Marimo for a class if they're maybe not super fit or they're not feeling like, maybe they do struggle with pain, maybe they struggle with fatigue, those kinds of things. Do you um, have some advice maybe that you would give these folks?
Yeah, so if they are adults and they're looking for themselves, I always have that conversation of, of the levels. I let them know you can bring whatever level, but the first step is to just show up. I also invite them to just pop into a class. They can watch, they can feel the energy, they can see how personal it is. If I have to stop in the middle of a class to take a sip of water because my energy is way up here, but everybody else is just kind of keep doing their thing, then we can take those breaks. And I let them see that. I want them to see that it's not intimidating. I do usually suggest going to the Just Move class because that is for beginners. That is, you know, taking it's a cardio class, but we also have evolved into having a little bit of sculpting. So there's a variety within there. And there's just a few people in there because I want that personalized experience. Some might feel that that's a little intimidating, so I try to be as goofy and as fun and as welcoming as possible, regardless of how silly I feel or look.
I
I
think
know.
you succeed in that. I think
Thank you.
everything I've ever seen you do, like it feels just very natural and fun. And I've never felt with anything that you've done that you're intimidating or um, setting some unattainable standard that people feel like they're just gonna bust their butts to
Right.
try to achieve and
Right.
end up regretting it later.
Right.
So I've always felt like everything just it's very natural, very accepting, very community oriented. Um,
Thank
I
you.
know, like I know it's my mom and my sister but, that are some of your regulars, but even just the other day, you're giving your kids hand-me-downs to my sister who's in your class and um, you didn't know her before that. So I just think that's a really cool uh, way to run a dance studio, to run a business, to run um, whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, I guess, other than that. But um, it's just really fun and, like I said, really accepting. Um, and I think while we can stretch at home, we can move at home, but sometimes we need a little bit of community accountability. Um, and it's not like, why aren't you here? Why
Oh
didn't you
gosh.
come to class last time? You're failing, or anything like that. Like it's very like, you have legitimate concern for your students, your members. Um, and that makes it feel like a place that you want to be, that you want to keep going back to. And I think that's super important for our community specifically to feel. And I know, I don't want to give out my family's personal business, but I know that both my mom and my sister struggle with um, different kinds of discomforts in their lives, and they're not always going to be jumping up and down and um, that high energy. They're they definitely have days that their energy levels are down, and we
I
all
have.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. There are days I tell them, I'm like, I am just not feeling it today, but I am here and I'm going to feed off of your energy because I'm happy to see you. I need your energy. So let's build this community and get moving together. So we all have those days and I'm in pain all day. I have my own injuries and health issues that I deal with, but movement, if I don't move every day, I feel off. And maybe that's stemming from my childhood because I was so go, 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 and I enjoyed it. And then I stopped for 11 plus years. And then I got back into it. And now there's no turning back. Like I know what it's like to not move and how I felt. And I didn't like that. And so, but I'm going to have my bad days. Trust me.
And we all do, absolutely. Do you have any other information that you wanted to tell the audience? Any other words of wisdom or advice that you maybe want to offer um, people who, like I said, are generally, chronically either tired or they have some pain, but are looking for something to help?
Yeah, my tagline is just move and have fun. So whether you are joining a class, which that has its own benefits versus being solo, um, just get out there and move. Find what feels good for your body. Maybe you need a variety of movement to feel good. Maybe you're set in your ways and you like to do that dance cardio every single day. Great, but don't forget to stretch. You need, that cardio for your health. You need, or your heart, but you also need to tell your muscles it's okay to move in these certain ways. You need to build those muscles, especially as we get older. I'm approaching 40 and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to move like I did when I was younger. And I need to start that now. Maybe I do a little bit more stretching and I add a 1 pound weight, or I grab a water bottle and I'm just moving as I'm sitting here talking to you. Like right now, I have a standing desk and it's wonderful. I'm trying to keep my upper body as still as possible, but my feet are going like this or something. So, wherever you can find that movement that feels good, I think that's the important part. Um, it might hurt a little bit, or not even hurt, because you don't want to be in pain by this movement, but you want to kind of push your boundaries a little bit. Breathe into those muscles. Be like, it's okay to move this way, but take your time. Be gentle with yourself. And then eventually, maybe you will get that split. Maybe you will be able to touch your toes or just be able to move with a little bit less pain. But you need to just show up for yourself, whether it's in a group or a nice stroll by yourself. That's okay too.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you say, you know, kind of that teaching your body that it's okay to move in certain ways, because that's definitely something that I tell my clients all the time. A lot of people who have been in pain for a long time tend to have a fear around moving. Even sometimes thinking that they're potentially doing more damage to themselves if they move. And that's just not the case. Most of the time, we have pain for a reason. It's giving us information, it's telling us things. But not moving is going to make it worse, right? Um, and that's something where I think a lot of us need that added support to help us move through that place of being a little bit fearful, a little bit worried about what's going to happen, and then a little bit just not having the motivation to do it because we anticipate being uncomfortable, we anticipate being in more pain, and it ends up in this terrible cycle of not moving and having our muscles just decondition and not be able to support any movements at all anymore. And like you said, we're getting up in our years. The years keep coming and going. We can't stop those. So
You can celebrate them though.
we
I,
can
I
celebrate.
brag about my age all the time, and I hope I can still do that in my 80s.
I don't even just like think about my age. I just pretend
Yeah,
I have no age.
yeah. It's just a number. Yeah.
It's just a number, yeah. Well, Angie, this has been really, really great information. Like I said, I think it's important to get your philosophy out there more because it's just so important for people to know that they have a place that they can go to just move and have fun
Yes.
and not worry about having to fit any mold or standard at all, and just have a community of people that care about their health and well-being and that care about keeping them moving and helping them to be a little bit more accountable, which I personally am a lot more motivated to move my body when I'm around other people who are also moving their bodies and are encouraging me to maybe do things that I didn't feel like doing today.
Yeah.
So can you tell everybody, where they can find you? Can they follow you on social media, at your website, all of that?
Yeah, yeah. I have a website, marimodance.com, where everything is listed, including our very long story of what a marimo is. It's a moss ball, lots of symbolism there. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. So the dance studio itself is right on Main Street in Franconia. So if you jumped onto 93, it's right there as soon as you get off. And you can do your grocery shopping right after dance class too, if you wanted to.
And get your hair done across the
Oh,
street. I got
yeah.
my blowout yesterday, so
Looking nice, very nice.
yeah.
I just came from a
So
class, so we're all over the place, but that's cool.
that's okay. This is the best my hair will ever look is right after I go to
Beautiful.
the salon. Otherwise, it's, in a clip or a braid, and that's the extent of my hairstyling abilities.
That's all
Uh,
you need.
but definitely check out Angie's website. Check out her classes. She's got a great fall schedule, lineup of classes, and the line dancing, that's super fun. All kinds of fun classes to attend. Zumba's fairly new, I think. So for
Yeah.
your studio, it's not a new thing, but
Yes,
uh,
yeah. So with the line dancing, I'm glad that you mentioned that real quick. So I try to get out into the community too, with any class. I go to schools and I teach there for different programs. But I also go to like Iron Furnace Brewery and we do line dancing. Hopefully we can do that again, once the winter time hits. So there's opportunities too. I am for hire, private lessons too.
and
I
birthday
have
parties.
birthday parties. Yeah. So we have a little bit of everything going on at the studio. And, if there's ever any ideas too, that you have in mind, I'm always open to hearing suggestions and ideas.
And I think we need to plan another event pretty soon as well for the community.
Yes. Well, don't you have one coming up at the studio?
I do. I am joining um, in between classes over at Marimo. I'm going to be having a wellness pop-up on the 26th. So anybody local can stop in, get a little wellness, um, what do I call it? Wellness assessment, or like a little mini treatment if you're having any aches or pains or anything like that. Or you can just come and ask me questions, that kind of stuff. I hope to continue to do more little pop-up events at Marimo, but also some of the bigger events like we did back in May would be cool. Just trying to get out there and serve our community. And um, I love that I've found somebody in the community that our philosophies are aligned and we both kind of have the same goals um, to help people in our little rural community that doesn't have a whole lot of uh, resources and support in general. So yeah.
Well, thank you for being part of this community and finding me and trusting me. So it's a great relationship we're building here. And I think that it helps us as business owners too. It's nice to
Absolutely.
talk with, with somebody of like mind and yeah.
Troubleshooting all of the issues that come along with owning a business as women in a small community, and I think it's so important to support each other
Mhm.
um, as well as our community. So it's been really, really great, and I'm looking forward to continued partnerships, and we'll definitely have to hop back on the podcast again soon sometime. And when we have new events coming up or you have new classes to talk about that our community might be interested in participating about. But we're going to end today with just reiterating that it's just so, so important to just move and show up for yourself, like Angie said. So,
Absolutely.
right. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you, Lindsay.